When you find the one, it's not going to feel like an uphill battle all the time. Hey you guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Justine Fulama and I'm so excited that you're here. Today we're talking about a very important and probably my favorite topic, and that was how I knew that my husband was the one. But before we get started, if you're new to this channel, welcome. I talk about everything dating, relationship, and marriage. And if you're not so new, welcome back. Good to see you again. Make sure that you like this video if you learned something, and obviously subscribe if you're not part of the family yet. So, how did I know that my husband was the one? If you're an OG viewer or even an OG reader on my blog, then you know that back in 2018 is when I started this whole journey of content creation, and the blog post that actually helped me kind of blow up in this space was "He is the one. 10 tips to identify the one," or something I called it. And I loved that topic because back then I was fire for Christ, like not newly found in Christ, but I was really studying the word and I was basing everything that I saw on things that I had learned over the years, just pursuing my faith. And it's a good blog post. Definitely go read it, watch the video that I posted probably 7 years ago. However, it was all theory. It was all things that I've read. It was things that I had heard. It weren't things that I've actually experienced. So now that I'm married and I truly know that my husband is the one for me, I feel like I have a whole new perspective on the topic that I would like to share with you. So let's get started. The number one way that I knew my husband was the one for me is that he is my answered prayer. And obviously, can't leave Jesus out of the equation. But when I started seriously manifesting my husband and understanding what it meant on a whole new level, I wrote a long prayer. Obviously, we all know Sierra's prayer now. Thank God she shared it. But I wrote my prayer / manifesto of what I wanted my relationship to be. I think I have at least 3 videos on here about that process, so go back, read it. And it was all about understanding how I wanted to feel in my future relationship, how my husband would make me feel. And I actually pulled up the note from 2022 where I highlighted a few of the things that I had written down. One of the sentences says, "He's loving and caring. He takes the time to connect with me every day." If I tell you, that was so important to me because I had been in a relationship before where I did not feel like we were truly connected every day. So with my husband, from the start, I felt like I was on top of his mind. I didn't ever feel like he forgot about me. Yes, when he's busy with work, sometimes I have to remind him, but very quickly became a routine. I became a part of his life, and that was so important. Another thing that I wrote down is he joins me on random outings just to spend time together. My love language is quality time, and I knew from experience that I wanted to be with someone that just randomly wants to hang out, randomly wants to do things with me. I think it's because I saw it in my parents. I love doing this with my friends and family. I will always take a walk with you if you ask me. So just having someone who is open to this was really important. And when I look at him now, I'm like, yes, you manifested that. And then one, or basically the most important one, being someone that dated men in her 20s that never really made me feel like the one, was probably he makes me feel safe because he is sure about me. If you know this channel, then you know I talk a lot about going and finding a partner that truly wants to be with you, right? Where you feel like just your presence alone is appreciated, valued, that he is low-key obsessed with you. So being with my husband, very early on, I realized that, he really makes me feel safe because he knows he wants to be with me. I never for a second had to doubt that I was his, quote unquote type. I was his preference. I was his, I don't know, everything that comes with someone that desires you and is in love with you. And that made me feel so good because it took the pressure off me trying to prove myself, which honestly, never do that, but feeling like I had to work to be in that space. I had to work to be desired. So number one way that I knew that my husband was the one for me or is the one for me is because he's my answered prayer and I see it every day. The second thing that made me realize that my husband is the one for me is that he makes me want to work on myself. And this one is always, I think, the point that I have to explain the most. I recently made a TikTok about it, and I'm 35, right? I got married at 35, so I've had a lot of time to be who I am. And I love myself, I'm proud of myself, but I have a lot of personality traits or characteristics that are not my favorite about myself, right? I've known that for years, decades, but I never had the desire to change them because with my family, I'm like, y'all know me. There's nothing you can do to be not related to me, so I'm not going to change for you. And then with friends, when they would point it out, sometimes it would just be straight up ego, not wanting to change and feeling like, well, if you can take me the way I am, then we shouldn't be friends, right? And I think we all have things like this. In my case, honestly, low-key, it's my stubbornness, and it's definitely my know-it-all personality. I'm so sorry for anybody who ever had to deal with it. It's horrible. But with my husband, the love that I have for him makes me want to improve myself, even if it means going against the default personality traits, right? The things that I've gotten so comfortable with, the things that I've gotten so attached to, right? Things that have helped me throughout my life to get things, to make things happen, to attract things. Whenever I feel like these parts of me hurt him, honestly, I'm bawling. I'm crying because I know that I do not want to hurt him in any type of way just because I low-key am disrespecting God, who has told me years and years and years that this needs to change about you. So instead of being lazy, comfortable, or straight up disobedient to God, His love triggers me to change in a way that I know is gonna honor Him and honor God. And yeah, that is one of the ways I knew He was the one, because for the men before, I did not want to do it. The third way that I knew my husband is the one for me is that I started loving him like the people in my life that I couldn't choose. I don't know if it makes sense yet, but I started loving him like my parents, my siblings, my nieces, my nephews, because I was like, no matter what we go through, we're gonna work on this because you ain't going nowhere. Again, I think it kind of merges into the point that I made before, is that when you go from choosing someone and being like, oh, okay, this is a boyfriend, this is going well, blah, 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 to, oh no, we're locked in. We're gonna be besties for life. We are gonna work things out. That's when it becomes a new level of love, right? Because with friends and family, and I think for many people also with kids, you didn't choose to love this person. This person was given to you, and from one day to the next, suddenly there is this overwhelming love for them, right? And that's what started happening. We would go through challenges or discussions or arguments, and I would be like, well, we're having this argument now. Let's take some time to calm down. But even though we're boyfriend and girlfriend, you ain't going nowhere. I'm not going anywhere. We're gonna make it work, right? That's not in a toxic way saying that stay no matter what. But it means that you know that divorce is not an option. We're going to make it work. Let's figure it out. Again, it goes back to the part where I did not feel bad. I did want to change parts of me that I knew weren't based on pure love, but on ego, and same for him. And figuring out long distance was one of the things. Finances was one of the things. Past relationship trauma was one of the things. And when I realized that, oh, he's just part of my family now, before he became my family, that's when I knew, oh no, he is the one, because I don't want to give him up. And then number 4, and probably to me personally, the most important way that I knew that my husband is the one for me is that he did not make me want to abandon myself. it's a whole mouthful. But abandoning yourself, what that means is that you get into a relationship with someone and you put their needs and desires on a pedestal so high that you are ready to disregard anything that you've ever wanted for yourself. And it's something I used to do so much because I was a people pleaser. Well, I still am. Let's not lie. If you're a people pleaser, you know it's hard to give up that trait. But what I'm saying is that I used to be a really strong people pleaser, and now I'm revived. Let's just say this. I did not abandon myself when we got into a relationship. I had my boundaries, I had my values, I had my opinions, and I stuck to them. Even when I knew that, okay, I need to, like maybe compromise, sacrifice, figure out things that I haven't figured out before, I did not say, what I want is not as important as what you want. Let me go cater to you. Not at all. And when I realized that I had not done this in months, I knew that this is healthy. He is good for me because he respects me, he values me, that when he knows there's a boundary that is getting pushed, that is important, he backs off, or he looks into whatever it is he is demanding in that moment that is maybe putting a raft into our relationship. And that was so beautiful. Obviously, it also had to do with me just getting older, becoming more myself, and also standing on my values for once. But when I realized I'm not abandoning myself, I knew that he's the one for me because he's good for me. And one of the things I truly believe is that when you find the one, it's not going to feel like an uphill battle all the time. It's not going to feel like you're constantly dragging the cart because you're trying to get them on board, right? It's going to feel like two people with two very different lives finding an island that they can make work for their family, their future, their lives. So yeah, and that's honestly and probably more than 10, 20 different little ways I knew my husband was the one for me. But honestly, that's probably the most important part, is that what made him the one for me. This may or may not relate to you, may or may not be relevant to you, but that's the important thing, is that you need to start with prayer. You need to start with honestly knowing yourself and knowing what you want, and then you will be able to discern and identify the one that is right for you. So yeah, if you love this video, again, make sure that you give it a thumbs up to show YouTube that it's good content, because honestly, I think it is. And if you're new to the family, make sure you subscribe, share this channel with people who may need this message. I see you guys in my next video next week, I promise. Until then, love and light.